show you everything that I baked and cooked, mostly baked, for Christmas Eve and Christmas. So these are my mini baklavas. I also made an Italian recipe called Torta salata, which is like a salty butter pastry cake. And this is my shadolatka, which is a Russian apple cake recipe. So first I started by making my baklava, which I had to do like about a day in advance because it has to sit in the syrup. I first mixed my walnuts with egg white and sugar, just crushed walnuts. That's your filling mixture. And then you take the package of Filo dough and you do 6 sheets at a time. So that's my second sheet, and on every sheet you brush like all the butter that you have in your fridge. You melt it and you brush it. No, but you really you have to use so much butter. That is the secret to really, really, really good baklava. A lot of butter. It makes the sheets nice and crispy and crunchy. It makes the baklava more delicious than you can possibly imagine. So good. You put your filling and then you make little triangles. This first batch I messed up. I couldn't remember because it had been, I don't remember if I made them last year. I think I made butter cookies. But this year I did I wanted to do these mini baklavas and I couldn't remember, so I had to call my grandma. I called her 7 times while I was doing this because I just couldn't remember what to do. I couldn't remember. So with the second batch, I did it correctly. She was like, just cut up the sheet into squares. And I was like, oh, that's why. Because out of 1 6 sheet batch yielded 3 baklavas. Incorrect. Very incorrect. So there, I cut them up into squares, added some filling in each square, and then I closed them. Closed them. Some of them I made into triangles. Others I made into rectangles. And yeah, you just close them up and you put them on your baking sheet. Sometimes they were difficult to stick, to close together. You can use an egg wash if they don't close. And then my second batch of 6 sheets. Brush the butter on every single sheet. Brush the butter on every sheet. Brush the butter on every sheet. And then you put your filling on your cut up squares. I love scissors. I don't have kitchen scissors, so I have to wash and disinfect these really well before using them. But put your filling on every little square, and then again you close them up. Close them up. I got my egg wash out because it was getting too difficult to glue them down to close them well. So I used a little bit of egg wash to keep them closed. Yeah, see, they open. Most of them stayed closed. It was just that one that for some reason was refusing. It was refusing. But the egg wash was for brushing egg on top of every little baklava. So you take your egg wash and you brush the egg. It's egg yolk. Egg yolk. You brush it on all of your baklavas and they get so golden and orangey and yellowy. And then you put everything in the oven. You put everything in the oven. And obviously, me being me, I forgot to film the syrup process, but basically the syrup is just like some lemon juice, a tiny bit of lemon juice, some lemon zest, sugar and water, and you melt down. The sugar just has to dissolve. Basically, you're not bringing the syrup to a boil. It just has to dissolve, and then you dip the hot baklavas as soon as they come out of the oven. You dip them into the hot syrup, and you put them into your dish. And then the remainder of the syrup, if it's like not too much, you can pour it over the baklava so they can soak it up really nice and well. But that's my little, see, that was the aftermath. I can't believe I forgot to press record. I forgot to press record. Forgive me. But I think I might make them again. If I make them again, I'll film it again. Maybe for New Year's. I might make baklava again. But these little individual ones are my favorite. My favorite ones. Anyway, so that is the baklava done. They were honestly the best I've ever made them. They were so crunchy and crispy and flavorful, just full of butter flavor because I put so much butter. The syrup was perfect. Some countries make baklava with honey. In Bulgaria, we make it with a simple sugar syrup. And there's, baklavas all over like the Middle East and Eastern Europe. So good. I love it. Next, I made a shadalatka apple cake, which is basically, I call it cloud cake because it's so fluffy. It's one of the best cakes ever. It's not heavy at all because there's no fat inside of it. It is just eggs, sugar, and flour, and apples. But I'll link the recipe that I use. It's the one from Natasha's kitchen. This recipe calls for 6 eggs, but I did the recipe and a half, so I did 9 eggs. Because I needed to make a very big batch, because our Christmas Eve dinner was with a lot of people. So you whisk, use your electric whisk to make the eggs nice and fluffy. And then you start adding your sugar. When it gets foamy at about this stage, you start to add your sugar in. And it will become, the sugar will help the eggs become silky and foamy and like a thick vanilla and baking powder. And you fold it in, you fold it in, you fold them in. You fold in the dry ingredients. To not deflate all the air that we worked so hard to incorporate. And then the final stage is adding the apples, which always breaks my heart a little bit because I'm afraid that it's going to deflate the batter. And it never actually does deflate the batter. And the best apples to use with this cake are Granny Smith because they're sour and tart. And it creates a really nice balance with the sweet, like, dough of the cake. So, you put that in the oven, and that's the finished cake. I made the mistake of putting the icing sugar before we left, and then by the time we left, the middle part had dissolved, and it was ugly. So ice sugar your cake when you arrive, not before you leave. And that was it. I don't like icing sugar, so I always eat this without icing sugar whenever I make it at home. I don't like anything with icing sugar or icing, like the sugar and water type of icing. My favorite icing is like buttercream, cream cheese frosting. And then I used the time I had in between when stuff was baking to make a gift. I roasted some hazelnuts and then blended it up to make a hazelnut butter and put it in the jar. And then here we're making the Italian torta salata, which means salty cake. It's basically just potatoes, and you cook them in a pan with rosemary, salt, and pepper until they get golden and until they cook to about 80% basically. And once you get them cooked to this stage, you have to then arrange them onto the butter pastry. So you take your defrosted I think from the fridge actually is the best, from the fridge, pastry, butter, puff pastry, I think, yeah. I put some olive oil, and then you mix your potato mixture with cheese. This one is called scamorza, which is an Italian cheese. It's nothing that special, you can find something similar. Even just white mozzarella, I guess, is fine. And then I mixed in some Parmesan as well, and that is your filling, and then you put it onto your butter pastry, and then you put that in the oven, and then about 5-6 minutes before it's done cooking, you put in your pancetta. Because if you put it in at the beginning, you risk it burning because it cooks very quickly. I tried to make a little decoration thing on the edges. It didn't really work. And then I used some leftover egg wash on the borders to make it look nice. And yeah, so you pull it out of the oven when it's close to being ready, and you put on your pancetta, and then you put it back in the oven for that last 5, 6, 7 minutes or whatever. And then that is it. You're done. That's it. Look. The apple cake, the baklava, the torta. It's such an easy thing to make and bring when you're a guest. I highly suggest you try it. It's you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. All of these, like December advent calendar